The life cycle of a garment. Fashion is an industry consumed by luxury, wealth, privilege, beauty, glamour, flamboyance, and suffering. The seemingly inevitable killing of the earth is the case, and we're all on trial. The True Cost gives a deeper look into the heartbreaking side of the fashion industry, highlighting the impacts of the fashion industry on the environment. The life cycle of a garment begins with fabric manufacturing. There are endless possibilities on how fabric can negatively impact the environment, but the three examples I'm going to focus on are cotton, denim, and leather manufacturing. Just under 90% of all cotton is genetically modified, leaving organic cotton scarce. Western companies typically buy old chemical explosive factories and use them for producing nitrogen fertilizers and pesticides, which are then used as a modifier for what is then Bt cotton. These pesticides and fertilizers seep into the soil and over time negatively impact communities in surrounding areas. In fact, 70 to 80% of kids affected in areas with heavy use of pesticides are physically or mentally handicapped. Moving on to denim. Denim itself has a major impact on the environment. Not only do the dyes and chemicals such as mercury, lead, and copper used to produce denim flow into major waterways, which are then used as a source for bathing and drinking water. To put things into perspective, the average United States household uses 8 gallons of water in 3 days, and that is the exact amount of water used to manufacture a single pair of jeans. In addition, denim is one of the least biodegradable materials, so its toxic dyes and chemicals are left seeping into the environment. Lastly, I want to focus on leather manufacturing. For example, one of the world's main leather manufacturing centers lies in Kanpur, India, which is also home to the Ganga River, one of the holiest rivers in Hinduism, and serves as a major water source for northern India, but it's being heavily polluted by surrounding leather factories. Every day, 50 million liters of toxic wastewater pours out of local tanneries. Heavy chemicals used to treat leather, for example chromium-6, flow into local farming and drinking water. Local environments, soil, drinking water, vegetables, cancers, and many conditions are a negative result of these chemicals. The following graph shows different amounts of carbon dioxide emissions in correlation with fiber production and crop cultivation for multiple fabric types in a variety of locations, measured in kilograms of carbon dioxide per ton spun fiber. For clarification, crop cultivation covers the land and machines used to grow the crops used in fabrics, whereas fiber production is the process of producing fiber in a factory. As you can see, all the organic fiber production falls lower on the scale of the carbon dioxide emissions because they're grown, whereas polyester is on the high end of the graph because polyester is not grown. In fact, in translation, polyester is plastic, and plastic is produced through oil, therefore making polyester a byproduct of the oil industry, the most negatively impacting industry on Earth. In conclusion, when you buy through fast fashion and dispose of your clothes carelessly, it impacts the earth once again because your clothes end up in landfills, further polluting the earth. So the solution is to stop consuming, because if we can bring production of fibers like polyester down, we can lessen the earth's impact from carbon dioxide emissions. Garment production. Did you know that when you buy a simple t-shirt from a company using fast fashion practices, over 1,000 different garment workers have touched that single item? Of course, this leads to the topic of sustainability, but I want to briefly focus on the rights of garment workers. The concept of a single collection for winter, autumn, spring, and summer has been reinvented. This system really only looks after the big business aspect of the fashion industry. For example, brands like Zara, H&M, Uniqlo, including all brands under the ownership of URBN, along with countless others, are major in the fast fashion industry. As recently as the 1960s, we were still manufacturing 95% of garments in America, whereas today we only manufacture around 3%, and the other 97% is outsourced to the cheapest labor in developing countries around the world. The entirety of this system makes fashion the most labor-dependent industry in the world. The trick to consumerism in America is a combination of value and good pricing. American companies are constantly competing for success within this system. With brands constantly lowering their prices to compete with one another, they manufacture at lower rates, and if companies can't comply with these low prices, they lose business. In order to stay afloat, they comply with these low prices, forcing them to cut safety measures, therefore resulting in accidents such as Ali Enterprises with 289 dead, Tazreen Fashion with 112 dead, and Rana Plaza with 1,129 dead. 3 of the biggest garment factory disasters occurring in the same year. On top of these heartbreaking incidents, garment factories produce huge amounts of greenhouse gases, which then warm the planet, and toxic chemicals leading to waterways. Carbon dioxide emissions through travel. Like I previously mentioned, garments are transported to a variety of factories around the world, and something as simple as a t-shirt has been handled by over 1,000 garment workers. To give context, when you buy a t-shirt, the tag is sewn in one factory, the serging is done in another, and the French seams are done in a different one, and the list goes on. In fact, when you look at the tag of your garment and it says made in wherever, it was not made there. That was simply the last place that it was before the retail store where it was bought. 1.2 million tons of carbon dioxide is used by the fashion industry. That number outranks both the airline industry and shipping industry combined. When the fossil fuels used to transport these garments are burned, they release large amounts of carbon dioxide into the environment. This harmful greenhouse gas is warming the Earth. The greenhouse effect is vital to support life. When sunlight reaches the Earth, it is either reflected back into space or absorbed by the planet, where it is then released as energy, causing heat. Unnatural amounts of greenhouse gases released by human activity build up in the atmosphere, therefore resulting in dangerous effects to health, welfare, and ecosystems, majorly contributing to climate change. Greenhouse gas emissions resulting in increased heat bring up sea surface temperature. In addition, when water heats up, it expands, therefore resulting in rising sea levels, as well as increased ocean acidity, negatively impacting various organisms' living standards. Waste. The average American throws away about 82 pounds of textile waste a year, adding up to about 11 million tons of textile waste from the U.S. alone. In addition, most of that waste is non-biodegradable, meaning it sits in landfills for over 200 years, releasing harmful gases and toxins. Annually, 80 billion garment pieces are produced. Then 20 billion out of that 80 billion are not even being sold, as well as more than half of that 80 billion goes to waste. So you buy through fast fashion at reduced prices, and not long after you decide the item you purchased is not to your liking anymore. But you didn't spend much on it, so what does it matter? So what happens to it then? You may think you're doing good by donating your clothes, and most of the time you are, but those clothes that are not consumed by the general public are then donated to countries, for example Haiti, where in reality they are dumped out and only 10% of them are put to any use. The rest are left there polluting the earth. Conclusion. This cycle seems never-ending, and I'll be honest, there is most likely no world in which the fashion industry can exist without harming the earth. One of the fundamentals of fashion is that the fashion industry begins with one thing, and that's consumers. Without consumerism, we would have no industry. We buy, and the rest of the harmful effects fall into place. The fast fashion industry is built on consumers, so imagine what impacts we could have if we took out that vital piece of the puzzle. If you can, stop consuming fast fashion, because not everyone has the financial privilege to do so. This leads to a whole separate topic concerning unaffordable, sustainable fashion. In The True Cost, a garment worker named Shima said, "I don't want anyone wearing anything produced by our blood." We as consumers are the start of this harmful process, currently breaking lives across the globe and harming the earth in unimaginable ways. So we have the power to be the end of it too.